Hello all you huggable ones, I am Joseph the Huggist. Today I'm playing Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. Mainly as a way to talk about the Shazam movie that I just saw. I'm a part of Fandango VIP, so I was able to see it 2 weeks early. And I thought it was excellent, so I wanted to talk about it. Why did I choose Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe instead of either the Injustice games? It's because that's how I was originally introduced to the character Shazam, or as he's called in this game, Captain Marvel, and I thought it would be fun going back to play it again. This is one of my favorite parts, by the way, the little Scorpion Batman fight that they have in there. Go to the bio real quick. There's that good looking man. I really enjoyed the movie. It was pretty great. I'll talk about when the game actually starts up. Look at how strong he is. He kind of reminds me of Superman. Always has. Good look at him. He kind of has a flat ass, but I bet you it's really muscular. Bring up his bio. Young Billy Batson was an orphan who wandered into a deep cave. There he encountered the ancient wizard Shazam, who granted Billy the ability to transform into the hero Captain Marvel. Whenever Billy speaks the name Shazam, a mystical lightning bolt recreates him as a hero with super strength, flight speed, and other powers of mythological heroes. In return, he must always fight evil in his forms as the 7 deadly enemies of man. If that reading sounded a little bit too good, that's because this is the 4th time I've tried recording. The other 3 times I was using the AVIA Media game capture, which it was unable to capture this game on the highest settings. No matter what I do, I can throw a little clip in at the end of the video so you can see how bad it is. But my biggest regret so far is getting the AVIA Media capture. I should have just... I'm on a budget, and I had to save some money, and I should have just waited a little bit longer to get like the Elgato. So, Shazam was a amazing movie. It was almost perfect for me. Almost Shazam! It was almost perfect, and the acting was really great. If you've read the New 52 DC Comics Volume 1 of Shazam, then you pretty much know what the movie's gonna go towards. Plotline and story arc. The only difference is Black Adam is in the... Spoiler, by the way. I'm not gonna give away many of the plot details, but I'm gonna give away some things. Black Adam is the only character that isn't in this movie, which is a good choice, considering if they had The Rock in it, it probably would have overshadowed everything else. He's mentioned by the wizard Shazam, and you fans would know who he is, but he's not actually in the movie.
Captain Marvel wins.
So, let's start going into actors, and let's go with young Billy Batson, Asher Angel. I may say some of these names wrong. I'm in crazy dyslexic. Like, I have 3 forms of it, so bear with me. He plays Billy Batson, who he did an amazing job with the role. He really made me feel for him at times, and picturing Billy in the New 52 comic, which ironically is one of the few Shazam comics I've read. I read more Marvel comics than I do DC comics, and I was off for 2 months and I just happened to have it, so I read it. That and another Shazam comic volume that I can't remember what it was. But when I picture him from that comic, I picture Asher. He did an amazing job in the role. For a young actor, I didn't have any problem believing he was Billy Batson. On to Zach Levi, who plays Shazam, and he is the perfectly cast in that role. As I like to say, as perfect as Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark in Iron Man, that's how perfect Zach Levi was for Shazam. He was amazing. He made me believe that he was a child trapped in the man's body. And he looks fantastic in the suit. He did a remarkable job committing himself to this role, and it's the highlight of the movie. Shazam! Dr. Theodoros. Oh, I'm gonna mess up saying that name. I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna call him Dr. S, played by Mark Strong, is the villain of the movie, and he has a very tragic beginning to his story. He was in the nature versus nurture debate. He definitely lost the nurture part. It's a very sad story. You'll see it in the movie. But Mark Strong was a pretty good bad guy in this movie. Shazam! He's without him, it would have been a way weaker movie. They perfectly cast him too, and I was very happy to see him. On to Billy Batson's friend, or his brother, his foster home brother, Jake Gazer, plays Freddie Freeman, and he does a very good job in that role too. There really isn't any weak acting in this movie, not from my point. I'm not a movie critic though, so I don't see things that other people do. I'm not even sure to call this a review. If I do, it's going to be in quotations. But back to Freddy. His main purpose in the role is to be Billy's support. Billy Batson he's not into superheroes. He's the person that that hates comics. Doesn't hate them, but he has no knowledge of comics, so he happens to have someone he knows who knows all about it. So he talks to Freddy about it, and one of my favorite parts of the movie, and I have about three. Three or four. Actually, I'm going to say probably more because I like that entire movie. Is when Billy was doing his superhero power test, and you see some of this in the trailer, like the flight test and the super speed and the bullet immunity, which is the funniest way I've ever heard anyone say bulletproof before. He wants to see if Billy can teleport, so they get two very big cardboard boxes. Billy gets into one. Freddy's just sort of... Damn. Excuse me. Didn't mean to swear there. Freddy just... Bam. Just spamming lightning there. Oh, man. I always hated playing the Flash and playing against the Flash in this game. Playing with the, sorry to go on this actual tangent, talk about the game, but playing with the Flash in Injustice or in any fighting game is the most satisfying feeling. Playing against the Flash, you just dread it. Especially if you're playing against someone who really knows how to use him. Oh, it's a pain in the tuchus. But back to Freddy. So they were figuring out if he can teleport. They put him in these boxes, and after, I'm not sure how long they were waiting in the movie time. Like in movie time, it was like 5 seconds. It could have been like 5 minutes in the universe, but he actually starts to changes the test to fireproof, and then he sets the box on fire. And it was one of the funniest moments in the entire movie. I absolutely loved it. I'm not going to go through every cast member, just the ones that I like really admired. The actress that played Darla Dudley, Faith Herman, she was my favorite part of the entire movie. She acted, and that's because she is like a little kid, and she had the naivety of a kid, which was amazing. She has. Can a rope really go through electricity like that? That's pretty ridiculous. But she, spoiler alert here. Billy figures out that he can share the Captain Marvel. That's what I'm going to call him because it's going to get confusing calling him Shazam. He figures out he can share the wizard Shazam's powers with his foster brothers and sisters. And once he does that, Darla becomes I'm not sure what she becomes, what to call her, but she becomes a superhero. And she didn't, from what I can tell, I'm not a huge expert. From what I can tell, they get one aspect of the power, not the entire power. She got Billy's super speed, and there's a subplot in the entire movie where, not in the entire movie, like halfway through, where Santa Claus, and that is getting harassed by the villain, and it's comic relief, and the Santa Claus happens to be at the same amusement park as the kids when Dr. S comes and threatens them, and Santa just starts pushing people down, screaming, "Run for your lives." After Darla gets her super speed, bam, she runs up to, she saves Santa. As soon as she puts Santa down, she whispers to him, "I've been a good girl this year. My name's Darla," and runs back to the fight. And I could honestly watch that one scene at least 20 more times. I will probably remember it the rest of my life. Probably misquoting it, but hey. So the action sequences are good because I found them good because most of the time it's not really fighting, it's Billy trying to survive fights. In the fight with Dr. S in the mall, he's not trying to fight him, he's just trying to run away, as a kid would. He's scared and he's panicking, so he's running away, and it's eventually when he starts the fight, he starts getting confidence and says to himself, "I need to do this for myself." He actually is pretty confident a pretty confident fighter for someone who's never been trained. And it's an interesting story arc. Batman's kicking my tuchus right now. I never like these parts. I always seem to rush through them and then they counter and they get all the damage points. So the before Billy learns to use his powers responsibly, he was using them irresponsibly, showing off, taking pictures with people, not really doing things typical superheroes would do in movies. As in, he would stop and take pictures with people and not really save anyone. At one point, he's in Philly, I'm not sure where this is, where they filmed the Rocky Steps part. He's on the top of the steps and he's throwing his lightning bolts in the air, showing off for money, using his powers irresponsible, and it blows up in his face and he causes a bus accident and he has to save him. So it was a good arc where he chooses to use his powers responsible. Man, I'm having a tough time saying that word. Changes, and he actually becomes the hero that we love. Batman's probably other than the Flash, Batman's the second worst person to fight in these games. I've beaten this game with every character. Playing against the Flash and Batman are a pain in the tuchus. I never really had a problem beating Darkseid or Darkon. But back to the few other parts of the movie. There's another subplot of the movie which I really, really rather enjoyed, which was Freddy trying to come up with a name for Billy, which is kind of funny because they actually did need to change his name in real life. So one of the standouts that I can remember is Captain Sparklefingers. As I said, I read more Marvel comics, so I don't think I've really read that many comics with Darkseid in it. So I really don't know what his deal is. From what I understand, he's a more interesting version of Thanos. I'm not positive about this, but I think Marvel might have ripped Thanos off from him. Is that they were very similar characters, or if they were like a year apart. So I really don't know, like, if he's interesting, like how bad he is, or if he's in love with death. I have no idea. I probably should read more DC comics. But other than that, Shazam was a fantastic movie. I'm sorry I'm going back and forth from the game to the movie. But Shazam was a unbelievably fantastic movie. On my personal rating of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 9. If it made me... I go to a lot of movies. I spend about $2,000 a year on movies. I get real emotional in them because it's a visual art, and I have easier time understanding that. I cry a lot in movies, and that it actually does feel positive. There was, I think, a month ago when I went to go see a re-release of Return of the King, and my sister smacked me in the arm because my glasses were fogging too much. If it would have made me like cry, like the emotional parts were trying to do, it would have been a 10 for me. But a 9's a really good movie. It feels a lot like a Marvel movie. It's not a misfire like Marvel's Captain Marvel was, which I didn't like that movie. I just thought it was boring. I can go in depth later, at a later time, but of the movies I've seen this year, I've seen pretty much all of them. I've seen Fighting with Your Family, How to Train Your Dragon, Us. I've seen a lot of movies this year. This is by far my favorite. It's the only one I'm heading back to the theater for. If I was to recommend it to anyone on a scale of 1 to 5, it's definitely a 5 for me. As Us was a 3 and Captain Marvel was a 2. So definitely my favorite movie of the year. I can't wait until it officially comes out on the 5th and see it again. Probably gonna drag some family members with me. Wow, I just barely got him.
Round 3, fight.
Well, now I'm done with the... That's about all I have to say about Shazam. Thanks to Fandango VIP and AMC, I got a nice movie poster out of it. I can't... Oh, yes, I remember there. There are 2 end credit scenes. One I really don't remember all that well. Even trying to remember it now, I can't. And then there's another one where Freddy's doing another power test. And you can see this now in the Chinese trailer. The Chinese trailer is filled with spoilers for the movie. It's quite amazing. It's Freddy's asking him if
Round 1, fight.
he could talk to fish. And Billy looks at him and is like, why would I want to... No, I can't talk to fish. That's a stupid power. And why would you want that anyways? Freddy goes, I don't know, maybe you can control an army of, a whole undersea army, as he then points to his Aquaman shirt. And it was like, Billy was like, oh yeah. So, as soon as that scene's over, there's a fellow nerd in the crowd that goes, man, that's an awesome power. And there's another nerd behind me. It's like, no, it's not. And that had nothing to do with the movie. It got the biggest laugh from all the nerds, because I think a lot of the nerds were on the other person's side instead of the first person's side.
Fight.
You would think... I'm really done talking about the movie now. You would think combining Shao Kahn with Darkseid would be cool, but he actually kind of is pretty... I'm just spamming lightning bolts now. Oh, bitch slapping me. So I'm very new to this whole video thing. This is my second video where I'm talking. I hope I'm doing a good job. I mean, my first one I was nervous for, just because I've never done it before. I feel like I'm more relaxed on this one. Bam! I just barely beat him there.
Round 3, fight.
I have a movie-going pro tip for you. My final piece of advice. If you eat peanut M&Ms during the movie, always eat them in 3s and 4s, never in 5s. If you eat them in more than 4, they become a choking hazard, and then you start to gag in the theater, and then you just have too many nuts in your mouth, is what it comes down. And having too many nuts in your mouth is never comfortable. So with that being said, hug you guys. See you later. By the way, these end credits suck in this game.
In order to regain control of his power, Captain Marvel was guided by the wizard Shazam through a focusing ritual. At its apex, Captain Marvel unexpectedly visited a strange ethereal world, finding himself face to face with godlike beings calling themselves the Elder Gods. Now able to tap into these gods' powers, Captain Marvel has new abilities he is only just beginning to master.
Round 1. Fight!
Shazam!
Fight! Captain Marvel wins. Round 1. Fight!
Shazam!
Captain Marvel wins.